Good evening, I'm Ben Kitili coming to you live from the KTN News Center. On the program tonight, we take you back to Peeton almost a year after that massacre that left 48 people dead. I'm Ben Kitili. This is KTN Prime.
Indeed, also on KTN Prime tonight, we turn our focus on Eldoret. And parents there are a worried lot. Their daughters and sons have been missing since last year, probably the last 2 years. And the concern is, where are they? And there are indications that some of them could have joined the Al-Shabaab group in Somalia. So we're looking at efforts to try and find out where they are and the concern of their parents tonight on KTN Prime. We thank you for joining us. Let's take a look at our top stories tonight.
Msaada wote katika nyumba yangu ilikuwa ni yeye. Anakuwa tatoa mwingine wapi.
Revisiting the bereaved families 1 year after the Peeton massacre.
Nisikia mbaya sana, msichana wangu ameniacha.
The missing girls, did they join ISIS?
Plus, on the record, who slept on the job over the recent flooding.
Also coming up on KTN Prime, the Vihiga village reinventing itself after landslide. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Meresha Owiti.
Almost 1 year down the line, residents of Peeton in Lamu County are still picking up the pieces after the overnight massacre that left at least 48 people dead. On the fateful night on June 15th, husbands, sons and brothers were murdered right before their families. And tonight, KTN's Francis Ontomwa brings you the story of these families that were left behind by the men who died on that night. Here's a sneak preview of that story that comes to you shortly after KTN Prime.
June 15, 2014, an hour after sunset, flames will light up this little town, illuminating the horror that murderers had brought here. The local police station burned to ash as police were caught unawares. The foundations of a fast-growing town were shaken that night, as terror was unleashed on little-known Peeton town of Lamu.
Na sasa shida imetokea nyingi sana baada ya kupotea.
11 months after the attack, sights of people trying to put their lives back together are common here. Peeton market perhaps offering the best location to evidence how life is slowly picking up. But even amidst the fresh resolve, bereaved women railroaded by loss still feel the absence of their fathers, husbands and sons. They are trying desperately to hold on to their memories, but shed their grief that holds them back in a town remembered for an attack but forgotten as the aftershocks still ripple through it.
That is a story that you definitely do not want to miss by Francis Ontomwa. He makes his way back to Peeton to tell the stories of those families. In the same line, 2 families in Nairobi's South Sea estate are grappling with fears of the possibility that their 2 daughters may have joined the ISIS terror group. The 2 best friends have been missing for a week now, and the distraught families enlisted the help of the police in the search. Now, a cousin of one of the girls is now reported to have received a text message allegedly placing the girls in Syria right at the heart of the terrorist group. KTN's Ian Wafula now reports.
It is as though time has literally stopped for the Abdallah and Dahir's families, yet it has been 6 days since their daughters went missing. It began Wednesday last week during the heavy rains, when it turned out that the rains would force one of the schools within Nairobi's South Sea area to close. Tofika Dahir, one of the missing girls, went to pick her siblings to take them home as instructed by the school's principal. She would also end up meeting her best friend Salwa Abdallah, who was teaching at the same school. Together, they escorted the children home before they went missing.
Sasa wasiwasi kaanza kuingia. Kawaida wakati wa kwangi nje. Kaanza kuuliza, naanza wa family wale wanaishi hapa wote, nikawapigia simu wakaniambia hatujamuona. Asubuhi nikapanda ndege nikakuja. Wakati nilifika, wale watoto wetu wa jamaa walienda kila pahali wakapeleka ripoti.
Mtoto wangu kawaida, kwa sababu walipofunga university alifunga mwezi wa 4, na mwezi wa 4 hapa pia unafunga skuli. Alikuwa nyumbani. na yuko sawa. Ile wiki ya kwanza ndo akaja skuli kifunguliwa, ndo akaja hapa Nairobi Muslim, lakini hawana tabia kwenda mahali wa kufanya hivi ama kuja kuleta marafiki nyumbani, hakuna.
Since then, countless trips to police stations, sleepless nights, endless calls and rivers of tears have become quite common with the two families until early Monday morning when they received this text, a puzzle to all of them.
Tapakasi ni sidi ni watu ya antitera.
This text in part says, "Pass my regards to everyone. I am now in Syria and I arrived here today. Tell everyone not to look for me. I am doing very fine. I will contact my mother when I settle in a few weeks." The message was allegedly sent by Tofik to one of her cousins, not stating whether she was with Salwa, her friend. Speaking on phone, however, it would emerge that Tofik was quite thrifty with the information she shared.
She told me she's leaving for another place. When she gets a house and a phone, she will contact her home. Alafu akaniambia simu inachukuliwa, so kwaheri.
Did she say who was taking the phone?
The person, the owner of the phone. She did have a phone.
Did she say who she went with?
It was not her sister. Alikuwa anasema mimi nimemwambia why kwa nini hii namba ni Kenya. Akaniambia because I'm using a Kenyan bro's number, he registered na Kenya. Nikamwambia so hii namba iko registered. Akaniambia yeah iko registered lakini ukikola haitaingia. Huyu bro pia ako hapa pamoja na sisi and he's the only one who has Telegram.
Did she say whether she was with her friend?
I didn't ask her because aliniambia sina time, please pass the message.
And has she contacted you again?
No, I didn't contact.
Had she ever talked about plans to going out of the country?
No, she has never told me.
Just like WhatsApp messaging application, Telegram allows one to use registered numbers to communicate from whatever destination as long as they're connected to the internet. But even more advanced, Telegram is secure and conceals one's location. Immediately, the stories of the two girls went viral on social sites, concern as to the possibility of their joining ISIS, an Islamic extremist terrorist group controlling parts of Iraq and Syria, was spreading in equal measure.
Mimi naona kama ni maneno washauri kama hivi sasa kutokea hizi mambo ya internet nini waweza kutumana mambo mengi kwenye simu na ikawa ni urongo. Kwa hivyo naamini kwa si ukweli hiyo message.
None of the girls left home with any of their crucial documents, and a look at their grades from previous schools show bright students with a promising future.
Naomba serikali hanisaidie. Nisikia mbaya sana msichana wangu ameniacha.
Until the mystery behind the disappearance of the two girls is solved, time in this household remains frozen and nothing else matters. Ian Wafula, KTN, Nairobi.
Let's stay with that story. And in the county of Uasin Gishu, top security officials say at least 20 youth have been missing from their homes since 2013, and that there are fears they could have joined criminal gangs, including the Al-Shabaab. KTN's Mercy Kandia reports from the North Rift.
It's a search that Mzee Chumba hopes will end soon. He has been the guardian to his nephew, Andrew Kipkoech, who disappeared from their home on the 15th of April 2015.
Na nimepiga ripoti kwa Cheptiret Police Post. Lakini pia hawajapata hiyo mtoto. Mimi nimeenda kwa majirani, relatives, kila mahali.
He has even paid for radio announcements, he says, and informed all his neighbors and relatives, but there has been no positive response so far. His fears, he says, is that the boy could have joined a criminal gang. He was known to love handouts.
Hadi hizo niko na shuku ya kwamba huenda ameandikishwa na watu wa Al-Shabaab. Hiyo ndio shida yangu. Ama aende chokora. Na mimi nasikia hata chokora siku hizi wa Al-Shabaab wanachukua wanapeleka huko.
In Eldoret town, the security team is compiling a list of missing youth in the county. The youth are said to have been missing from their homes since 2013.
Kuna vijana ambao idadi yao ni kama 20 ambao hawajulikani waliko, na inaaminika ya kwamba vijana hawa pengine wameweza kuwa wamejiunga na vikundi haramu ya kuleta wasiwasi miongoni mwa wananchi.
Security officials within the county say they have details of the missing youth, who comprise of both men and women, adding that residents whose relatives are missing should report to the nearest police station.
Tumewauliza na tunaendelea kuwaomba wajitokeze kwa sababu hakuna madhara watapata ama adhabu yoyote itapewa kulingana na vile mwito wa serikali ya kwamba hao vijana warudi. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba warudi, lakini muda ukiisha na wapatikane basi watakabiliwa kulingana na sheria.
And even though the county commissioner says there is no cause for alarm within the town, Chumba knows he has to search. He promised his late sister he would take care of her son, saying he has potential to be great in society. This latest directive by the county commissioner being Mzee Chumba's final hope that his nephew, whom he calls son, will return home and continue with his education. Masi Kandie, KTN, Cheptiret, Uasin Gishu County.
Let's now focus on an issue that quite a number of Nairobians have been talking about in the last couple of weeks. When it rains in Nairobi, it pours.
The residents of the capital, Nairobi, have in the last week experienced the worst possible scenarios following continued rains.
Some have described the aftermath as an embarrassment that a major capital can be brought to its knees from showers. So who is to blame?
Tonight, Nairobi Governor Evan Skidero is on the record with KTN's Edith Kimani.
Take a look.
This past week has undoubtedly been a nightmare for Nairobi residents. On Monday, a 2-hour downpour led to a citywide traffic snarl-up, left cars submerged, and worst, at least 10 people lost their lives after a wall came tumbling down on them in South Sea. That's an estate on the outskirts of the CBD. Tuesday was no better, with traffic reportedly lasting up to 11 hours in some places, leaving 11 children in a primary school bus trapped in the cold and rain for over 10 hours. The Standard newspaper actually reported that through the rain and wild traffic, border operators were ferrying people to hospitals, most of them with children. So it's no wonder that Nairobi Governor Evan Skidero found himself facing a gun's barrel. But it was not until Wednesday, when the storm had literally passed, that Skidero finally said something. I would like to assure Nairobians that the county government, in collaboration with Kenya National Highways Authority and Kenya Urban Roads Authority, are doing their best to unclog all blocked drainage systems in the city to ensure smooth and efficient flow of water. Nairobi County, the business hub of East Africa, was ground to a halt because of blocked drainage. But Skidero quickly came up with a plan to fix the problem. The county government announced that a 50 million shilling emergency recovery fund would be set up and used largely to clear and unblock clogged drainage channels and reconstruct damaged roads. Now, it sounds really good on paper, but the truth is that Skidero's plan is simply a proposal. See, the money Skidero is talking about will come from the development expenditure budget of the county, but for the next financial year. So we're talking about 2015-2016. However, before he can get that money, the proposal has to be tabled in the county assembly, debated and approved by the MCAs. This process is usually no less than 3 months. And let's not forget that the money needs to be released from the national government. Traditionally, that money is sent out to counties after the first quarter, meaning that realistically, the earliest that money can be used for this emergency is in the second quarter, which begins in October. Then there's the fact that the drainage situation is a long-term project, and as such, before any service to unblock these drains can commence, there must first be the rigorous procurement process of the contractor. Yet Skidero still insists that drainage and improvement of road networks in Nairobi County is one of my key priorities. One might be inclined to agree with this statement if they're looking at the county government budget implementation review reports. See, according to that report, Nairobi County spent 18 million shillings on routine maintenance of roads and 13 million shillings on rehabilitation of access roads and other projects in the first financial quarter. The half-year report shows that this half-year alone, Nairobi County has pumped 113.4 million shillings into maintenance of roads. So where is this money going? Down the drain, if we're to go by the Auditor General's report. On roads in Nairobi County, the report reads in part, Physical verification on sampled roads revealed that most of the roads rehabilitated had gone back to their dilapidated state, indicating shoddy or poor supervision of the works. It gets even better. The report continues to say, it was not explained why the final payment certificates were made before thorough inspection and commissioning of the rehabilitation works. Some construction firms were also given multiple and continuous maintenance works before carrying due diligence on previous performance and capacity. Well, that seems to explain the poor state of the roads, but what about the root cause? Garbage buildup in the county, clogging up the drains. Well, that same Auditor General's report makes some very interesting observations. Inquiries at the Registrar of Companies revealed that some of the firms, these are the ones contracted to collect garbage, were not traceable at the Registrar of Companies, while audit inspection at Dandora dump site revealed that some lorries did multiple dumping within a few minutes. So, for example, at 10-minute intervals, making it doubtful whether they had actually left the site. It was also observed that 166,225,352 shillings was paid to various firms which were not in the pre-qualified tendering list. So there are clearly issues of accountability and transparency plaguing this one aspect of Nairobi County, and the solution has been to throw more money into the muddy waters. So far, it's been difficult to point out a single actionable plan that is in place from the county government. Let's not forget that it is the national government, through the deployment of 10,000 servicemen, that has come to the rescue of Nairobi. But Kidero says that drainage and improvement of road networks in Nairobi County is one of my main priorities. But to be fair, Mother Nature can be unpredictable, and no one can quite anticipate a river bursting its banks. In fact, Kidero himself said it. In 2 days, we have had 10% of the annual rainfall, 150 millimeters of the 1,870 in 365 days, worse than El Nino rains of 1997. Well, that's true. But it's also true that the Meteorological Department had forewarned everybody about this. On their website, the Meteorological Department has highlighted depressed rainfall is expected over most of the eastern sector of the country during March to May 2015 long rain season. However, rainfall over most parts of western and central counties is likely to be near average with a slight tendency to above average over several parts of western Kenya. Nairobi County is lumped in the central counties. The department goes on to make a very specific recommendation to county authorities. Municipalities located in western and central regions where good rainfall is expected are advised to open up drainage systems early enough so as to avoid water accumulation due to surface runoff that lead to flash flooding. This forecast was published on the 27th of February 2015, 2 months before the rains began. Nairobi accounts for 60% of the country's GDP. One county is responsible for more than half of the entire country's wealth. And when that county grinds to a halt, then a lot of money is lost. Official data actually indicates that an average of 50 million shillings is lost daily through traffic. And that's ordinary traffic, not 11-hour traffic. Money was lost. Property was destroyed and lives were lost. But Kidero said, sincere condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones as a result of the current heavy rains and 7 others injured. See, Kidero may be sorry, but sometimes sorry is a sorry word.
Sometimes sorry is a sorry word. Edith Kimani there with On the Record asking pertinent questions. Let's now take you to Western Kenya. A landslide in Hamisi sub-county Vihiga is a phenomenon that many residents had never witnessed before and still cannot explain. 2 weeks after the latest incident, affected families are still trying to rebuild their lives. For them, this peculiar disaster has not just rearranged their families, but also their faith. KTN's Dorskas Wangira tells us more.
Just over 2 weeks ago at 5 p.m. 29th of April, even before the sun could go to sleep in Hamisi sub-county Vihiga, a powerful force beneath the ground set a chain reaction, one that shook the villages of Gimariani, Muhembe, Kinundu and Musangulu in a way never experienced before.
Kitu hiki hakijawahi kutendeka hapa sehemu hii kwa muda wote ambao nimekuwa hapa, ingawa kwa kilugha kinaitwa chihi ambayo ni landslide na haijawahi kutendeka hapa.
Every ground movement zigzagged a wave of destruction. And in this church, the Lutavati Assembly, it's the people's faith that was shaken at first.
Kuomba Mungu akatoa maji kidogo, kuenda nje tukapata ya kwamba maji ilitoka katika chini ya udongo na ikalipuka ikawa maji mingi sana, ile huwezi kufuga na ile huwezi kufanya chochote. Hata sisi tulishangaa kukosa kujua ni Mungu alifanya ama ni mambo ya kimila.
According to the county ward administrator, 46 houses were damaged and were at high risk.
There are 33 families that will need, as an urgent measure, reconstruction of their houses. But those ones that need to be relocated as of now are at 13 families.
But disasters such as this are not about numbers. Boniface Simonzero and his wife Lydia's house was at the epicenter of the landslide in Gimariani village. Their maize field is now a gaping field of multiple gullies. It's not easy being home in a house that's not yours. They have since moved temporarily to Caleb Nziria's homestead. The fast response that came from the Red Cross and later the county government, they say, brought relief, but not enough to replace what they lost.
Imeniweka katika hali ngumu sababu mimi ni mtu ambaye nilikuwa na familia na watoto ambao walikuwa najivunia kuwa katika boma lao ijapokuwa boma yenyewe ilikuwa ndogo.
When a village is in conflict with the environment, the warnings are often silent.
If you look at the problem that is here, is actually a geological problem. And there is water that is, it's actually spring water coming from underground. And this is its line as it finds its way towards down the stream. So because of siltation, that water is covered underneath. And as people continue settling here and removing the ground cover, that is why it has been affected.
I want to assure them that as a county government, we will actually relocate those ones who are willing to be relocated. But to say that we are going to build houses in such a place when even the locals say that this is a riverbank, that will not be solving any problem.
Niko tayari kuhama so long as wameniambia mahali ambapo pako secure.
To avert this is to relocate. This is because this is a water tower. Is to relocate our people. We protect this area because we also need this area. We protect it. We plant indigenous trees.
Maji hufuata mkondo. That's a Kiswahili proverb that loosely translates to water will always follow its course. In this village, nature has proved to be a very powerful force that the residents cannot compete with. Dorcas Wangira, KTN, Gimariani Village, Hamisi, Vihiga County.
Now, the National Assembly's Committee on Implementation is defending its recommendation to boost health services countrywide.
That proposal has rattled their counterparts in the Senate. The committee had recommended the return of provision of health services to the national government, saying counties have failed to deliver.
We sample out 6 counties, namely Tana River County, Kilifi County, Tharaka Nithi County, Narok County, Isiolo County, and Laikipia County, to see how health status in after devolution. And I can tell you what we have seen and what we have observed surely cannot be tolerated by any good thinking for this country. The devolution of health sector has not taken off. We have not seen any improvement whatsoever. So we are saying it's time. Why can't we revert back the health services as recommended by the Health Committee on Health, and then consult further which sector or which department of the health can be devolved and which one can be retained.
Unapata kwamba katika zile health centers, katika zile zahanati ama katika hospitali hakuna dawa, hakuna madaktari wengi hawaendi katika hospitali. So tunajiuliza sisi kama wanakamati wa hii implementation committee, iko haja gani kuwa na devolved kudevolve health ile kugatua afya and yet hakuna madaktari, hakuna madawa. Watu wanatuambia kwamba katika mazahanati unapata kwamba kitu ambayo unapata tu moja ni labda Panadol.
Mimi natoka Kapenguria. Na Kapenguria kuna hospitali kubwa sana. Wakati wetu wa mama na baba ilikuwa inafanya mzuri sana. Lakini ukatusi imekuja imeleta ukabila. Kwa sababu unaona kwamba wanaajiri wanachukua, kuna mtu ambaye alikuwa ni junior, mtu tu alikuwa daktari ya chini, anachukuliwa kuwa ndio minister ama CEC. Mwingine alikuwa chini pale anachukuliwa ati ndio CEO ama chief officer. PS. Na wale wakubwa wake, wale seniors, wale wamesoma zaidi ya yeye wako pale. Wanafikiri ni nini?
Let's cross borders to Burundi, where President Pierre Nkurunziza has today dismissed 3 cabinet ministers in a cabinet reshuffle as he seeks to restructure his government after the failed coup attempt. The president fired Defense Minister Ponsho Gasiubwenge, Trade Minister Marie Nizigiyimana, and International Affairs Minister Loro Kavakure. This comes just days after Kavakure appeared on KTN's Friday briefing to give an update of the situation in the troubled East African country. Nkurunziza returned from Tanzania last week and addressed the media, but curiously steered clear of questions regarding the coup, instead choosing to concentrate on the country's efforts to combat the Al-Shabaab.
The government is rolling out construction of the first 3 berths of the Lamu deep-sea port at a tune of 42 billion Kenyan shillings. This move is aimed at boosting private investors' confidence in the LAPSSET project, which is expected to position Kenya as a key logistical hub. Our reporter traveled to the coastal town of Lamu and brings the progress that has been made of the project this far.
This is Lamu town. Nothing much seems to be going on here. But a few kilometers away in Manda Bay, the construction of 32-berth Lamu port that will open up 70% of the country is ongoing.
As we start the construction of the first 3 berths, we have taken time to put in place a number of support facilities that are required for this particular port. Those that we have put in place include the port headquarters, the police station. We are currently building the staff housing for both port management as well as the police or security forces. We are also putting in place water, and we've already piped all the way up to the port site. We have also brought electric power supply.
Lamu Port is part of the ambitious LAPSSET corridor infrastructural project that includes airports, an online pipeline and refinery, highways and standard gauge railway connecting Kenya's coast to Ethiopia, South Sudan and other East African countries.
Other countries within the East Africa region are also looking to be serviced by a port. And the LAPSSET corridor, creating a land bridge across the African continent, is opening in new markets beyond the current countries that are being served by the port of Mombasa.
Kenya's over-reliance on the Mombasa port and Mombasa-Uganda transport corridor has a lot of limitations, and the construction of a second transport corridor could be a game changer.
If a ship can carry most ships carry up to 4,000 containers. If you can get a ship with 8,000 containers, of course the freight cost will go down.
With East African economies chasing for double-digit economic growth, the government is confident the port of Lamu will be the gateway to maritime business across the East Coast.
Though the LAPSSET project is expected to bring major economic transformation in the mostly underdeveloped Kenyan northern frontier, the residents of Lamu town are still skeptical of the economic opportunities that underlie this project.
Hatuwezi kusema itachudhuru au itachufanisha. Hatuwezi kusema kwa sababu kazi ile ina venyewe. Sisi ni raia, tunalalamika tu kwa sisi tunavonewa. Ikiingia jambo hapa la maskini hawezi kuchambuliwa. Matajiri akisha kuchia mfukoni kwao basi.
Sana hii poti inafunguliwa na sisi ndo tufanya kazi ya poti, tunafanya kazi ya uvuvi ya kuvua samaki. Sasa na sijui poti kifunguliwa na sisi wavuvi tutafanya kazi gani? Na kanda inafungwa.
With the groundbreaking set for the 26th of this month, and thereafter the construction of the first 3 berths at the cost of 42 billion Kenya shillings funded by the Kenyan government, the port of Lamu will position Kenya as a trade, logistic and transport hub for the sub-Saharan Africa. David Onyango, KTN Business.
Well, many thanks there, David Onyango in Lamu. And indeed, that project comes at a time when the port of Mombasa has been experiencing a lot of backlogs. Well, moving on, national carrier Kenya Airways is confident of rebounding from its financial woes, arguing it's undergoing what is to be expected in the aviation industry. Currently sitting on liabilities to the tune of 70 billion shillings as of September 2014, the airline has struggled to cut in the cutthroat industry. In an opinion piece in one of the local dailies, KQ's CEO Mbuvi Gunze says the key challenge remains balancing both long-term and short-term debt. The airline is currently looking for an option of restructuring its debt burden as a first step in turning around its fortunes. Options that have been floated around include seeking fresh capital injection or floating a long-term bond to get out of its tight liquidity band. The CEO, however, refused to blame the airline's woes on its Mawingu expansion program, insisting investment to grow the airline was needed to stay competitive. Kenya Airways posted a 10 billion shillings half-year loss and is expected to release its full-year results within a month. The government will in June sign a joint commission of cooperation with the South African government, making it easier for the two countries to trade ties. Between the two countries, there have been frosty and better relations. Well, this has somehow affected relations between Kenya and South Africa, with a formal channel of discourse seen as a way of easing the relations in a meeting between the President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, and Uhuru Kenyatta during Kenyatta's visit when he was attending the Pan-African Summit.
For us to be meeting more regularly, to be able to exchange notes more regularly, and to move towards strengthening the ties between our two countries and ultimately the two regions, SADC and the East African community, so that we can ensure that we push the industrialization agenda, we push the employment agenda for our youth, we boost intra-Africa trade. These are some of the areas that we discussed, and we said that there is need for us as we go forward to be meeting more regularly, to be able to pursue these agendas, which I believe are strongly important to our peoples.
Well, among other issues expected to feature in that summit includes the issue of visas to South Africa. Well, let's now take a look at how your money performed in our financial reports.
Suspended Football Kenya Federation Vice President Sami Shole will vie for the Football Kenya Federation top seat if his case against the country's football governing body, which kicked off today at the Sports Dispute Tribunal, is successful. Shole was president during the mention of the case of challenging his indefinite suspension from all football activities, where he disclosed that he will not back any candidate in the October elections. Shole was represented by lawyer Roland Oyeko, forced the chairman to reconstitute the 5-man panel, raised discomfort with Elena Shavika sitting in the panel that's set to start hearing the case in 14 days' time. Shavika, who is also Kenya Hockey Union Vice Chair Lady, was replaced by Gishuru Kiplagat in the panel that also consists of Tribunal Chairman John Ohaga, Njeri Onyango, and Gabriel Oko. Still in football matters, 16 teams drawn from across the country are expected to take part in this year's Super 8 tournament finals that will be staged at Nairobi City Stadium. The tournament, which is aimed at developing grassroots football in the country, will see the winner take home $500,000 Kenya shillings.
Football is arguably the most followed sport in Kenya, and the youth have greatly contributed to its development. With chances of getting into top-tier football in the country minimal, the youth have continued to rely on various organized tournaments, among them the Super 8 tournament. The tournament, which is in its 9th edition, saw a huge number of participants take part this year.
Let us find ways and means of taking this tournament to other parts of the country. And I'm glad that that is becoming a reality.
As is natural with all progressive initiatives, extreme sports shall transition this tournament into a fully fledged league starting with the next edition.
The tournament is now on the knockout stages, and a majority of the youngsters taking part feel the tournament has given them a perfect platform to showcase their skills.
Platform for young talented footballers like us to use this platform to, get exposed to a greater height.
Okay, I think it has a lot of talent. It has brought challenge to us, and it is very competitive.
The tournament, which kicked off in March, saw more than 100 teams from 17 constituencies in Nairobi take part in the preliminary stage. The 16 which qualified for the finals were presented with football merchandise and will battle it out for the top honors. With events like this taking part in the country, football is without a doubt headed in the right direction. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Now, running may be Ethiopia's top sport, but the country's new generation is not afraid of embracing change. The Addis Ababa potholed roads have now become a famous playground for aspiring young skateboarders.
Skateboarding in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, is not easy. But the city's potholed roads and clogged traffic are no deterrent for these young skaters.
Yeah, we're just trying to use whatever it is in Addis. Even if the spots are pretty bad, we just make the best out of it.
In Shiromeda, a poor neighborhood in the hills above the city, the spot is offering moments of fun and escape for young people living there. A non-profit group called Megabiskata is helping them learn with lessons and building these ramps so the boys and girls can spend their free time honing their skills.
There's nothing much to do for the kids.
There's nothing much to do for the kids, you know. This is the only place they can come and hang out and speed their things. And also, after the skate session, helping them to do something positive.
Skateboards are hard to come by in Ethiopia, but its growing number of fans has attracted the support of skateboarders worldwide who have donated dozens of boards, enabling more children to give the once unknown sport a go.
So as soon as they see this sport, a new sport that people didn't you can't picture that in Africa, they're amazed and they're happy to see it here. So it's pretty amazing, yeah.
Every Saturday, the young skaters are encouraged to put down their boards and do something worthwhile for the wider community, to help a single mother or do some cleaning. This is to show that even skating daredevils can also have big hearts.
And we thank you for participating, for being part of KTN Prime. Of course, we'll do this all over again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm Linda Ogutu.
And my name is Ben Kitili.